guy that, quite frankly, for us was the surprise of the draft class last year. We weren't very high on when we drafted him. We weren't very keen on the pick ourselves, me and Rob, but balled out. And that's Dru Phillips, who, quite frankly, like I said, was one of the best pleasant surprises of last year for us there. We talked about he had LASIK surgery over the offseason, which we thought was kind of interesting that it kind of broke out. And, he was kind of talking. I was almost waiting for him to say sponsored by and like give the name of his doctor or something. But like he announced it earlier, didn't really talk too much about it, but he was asked about it here this week at training camp. He says, I was kind of blind before. I hated wearing contacts, and it was one of those things that made life a lot easier for me in that sense. I can see a whole lot better now, and the procedure was easy. It's like 15 minutes. It was quick. I slept for like 2 days, and I woke up. My eyes were great. First off, I feel like I need LASIK just to get 2 days of sleep. Like, I feel like that's a benefit that should be in the ad. Like,
I actually got LASIK, so I could speak from experience. It was
sleep for 2 days?
Years ago when I was like 19, 20 years old, but it was about 10 minutes for me. It was even shorter than 15 minutes, and it was about 2 days. Yeah.
That's the thing.
What is that?
Did you sleep for 2 days afterwards? That's the key.
No, I did not. Unfortunately, I at least from what I recall, I think I slept a good deal the day of the surgery, but then it was pretty much normal after that. I was wearing the cataracts glasses to protect myself from the light for about 2 or 3 days, but I think it was a normal sleep schedule.
Okay. Yeah, the drops every 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, they put the drops in your eyes so you can't blink. Yeah, yeah. It's the weirdest feeling in the world because you could actually feel them slicing your eye, but there's no pain involved. It's very weird.
Oh God, that does sound weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother had LASIK surgery like 20 years ago. So
I would so flinch. I'd be that guy, like walking around like a pirate. My life. What happened? It was a LASIK incident. I got twitched. I had to sneeze. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, anyway, he goes on, said, seeing the ball in the air, that was one of my biggest problems. That day goes back a long time ago, but especially this camp, I'm tracking the ball a lot better with the ball in the air. I can go attack more. I can just see the ball, so it helps me in there. And in outside life, like driving and stuff, it makes it a lot easier. I thought that part of it was kind of interesting because we talked about, again, the fact that he announced he had LASIK earlier on in the year. But one of the biggest issues, obviously, the Giants defense as a whole had was not being able to play the whole takeaway and not getting interceptions. And as great as Dru Phillips was last year, that was one thing I would have loved to see a little more from him, just because we need to see it from somebody. We get him and Tyler Nubin both in there. They were great members as rookies of the secondary. But neither one of them are getting any picks whatsoever. I mean, Darius Muasau literally had like 100% of the team's interceptions for the first 9 weeks, it felt like, or something like that.
Yeah, he had one, which was 100. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it not get that many get that little bit of interceptions, and that's it. So it's I didn't think of it from that perspective. It's kind of like what they talk about with baseball. You talk about batters all the time. Like, I need to see the ball. My eyes need to be perfect. I need to go ahead and see and track the ball at that point. It's the same thing for secondary guys. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah. So he also talked about it from a perspective of him as a prospect. So we're going back to his days at Kentucky and all. He said there's a lot of talk before I got drafted with the people upstairs. It was one of the things that they were like, you can't see. They were the only team that cared about it. It's one of the things I'm glad they pointed out, because I probably still wouldn't have had it if no one said anything, but it helped me out on everyday basis. So it's interesting. So he's saying basically while he was going in for the draft, and keep in mind, obviously, guys, there's medical tests done like crazy in these kids. They don't just go, you're healthy. Okay, we take your word at that. Like they're checking everything out. You think it's bad when you get a new job and you got to go like, cough and pee in a cup and everything. Like this is nothing compared to what you do at that point. Absolutely nothing compared to what they do to get into the NFL. They're giving over every single possible test. They're getting whole body x-rays for no apparent reason and everything. They're doing like echocardiograms and everything. Like these guys, it's millions of dollars you're giving these people. You want to make sure that they're fully healthy.
Big investment.
Yeah.
Not just the physical testing. Of course, they do the whatever the terminology is. I forgot what the name of the IQ test for the players.
The Wonderlic test and all that stuff. Right. Yeah, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that they were bringing it up to him, and I like the fact that the Giants were a team that at least brought it up as like, hey, we could probably fix this. But it also tells you how bad his eyesight must have been if they're pointing it out in the draft process. That means like his eyesight wasn't like, well, you're 18-20. If we do this, you could be 20-20. Like, no, they got to be like, dude, your blind is like, bad. You should get LASIK.
Like 2-8-20.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy that he wouldn't have gotten that corrected sooner. Like he got paid. He was a rookie. He had enough money to get LASIK surgery last year when he got his sight. That's crazy that he would have waited a year. As you were talking about the baseball football thing, I was thinking about it. Obviously, I think it's probably more important in baseball because of how quick the ball gets to the plate. You have to be able to read the pitch immediately, whether it's a curveball, slider. Like vision is imperative when it comes to baseball at the plate. But thinking about it from the perspective of a cornerback, one of the most important things a cornerback needs to do when he's dropping back in coverage is reading the eyes of the quarterback. That requires good vision when you're 20, 30 yards away, being able to read, where the quarterback's looking. So it's crazy that he had really poor vision. And hopefully that does help him, get a couple of interceptions.
You bring up like just the eye vision, like see where the quarterback's looking at. But like you're talking 20, 30 yards down the field. Some people can't see or make out the quarterback with their eyesight. So like you don't even know if you stand to the left or right. So you're always on guard. Like you could be making a better play by getting off the coverage or getting switching the way you're running your route.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah. So, by the way, good news. We were back up on Twitter. Somehow it just popped up on Twitter on its own. I don't know how. So welcome to Twitter, people. So
welcome to X-Man.
But yeah, I mean, it's even jump ball scenarios. As a corner, jump ball scenarios are huge. And especially, let's be honest, Dru Phillips is not exactly the large physical corner. So it's like you're already giving up height sometimes to some of these receivers. If you have issues with seeing the ball as well, on top of the height issues, that's not a good scenario to be in. So I'm really curious to see how much that helps him out there. He said, talking about it last year with the issues with it, he says, there were times last year I was just playing with my head on fire. Like, I don't know, I was just running to the ball. Throughout the whole last season, I had my ups and downs. I learned and built off that coming into this year. I feel like I've taken a step and I've seen a lot more. So now when I go into practice, it's not like I don't, I know what's probably going to come. The scenario is third and short from third and long. Like I can play ball instead of guessing now. It took time, but definitely towards the end of the season, I was like, okay, if they come out in extra tight ends or third and long condensed, all that type of stuff. So I'm really hopeful for this kid, like even more knowing this kind of stuff. Like that's how bad your eyes were that people told you you're blind as a bat before you even stepped in the damn field. And then on top of that, the natural progression, as he mentions, the learning process that everybody goes through when they go into the NFL. Because it's funny how people think you step into the NFL like, oh, I did this in college. It's the same thing. No, it's not.
No, apples and oranges. Jackson Dart found that out his first pass in training camp.
Oh, he found that out real quick. Yeah. Found it out a second day in training camp as well. So I mean, like I said, I'm excited for Phillips, and like I said, we were not too high on him again when we picked him. Rob and I were very happy to be wrong on him whatsoever. I still 100%, think that this kid definitely hasn't reached the potential of what he could be. Because if you look at his movements in college compared to what it was that first year, Jerome Henderson, again, I know he's not with us anymore, but I have to go ahead and also say that he got a ton of work in with Jerome Henderson at that point and fixed, I thought, some of the hip issues he had in Kentucky really quickly on. So again, you get the credit to Henderson for teaching it. You give the credit to Phillips also for going ahead and, taking in those lessons and learning that quickly there. It shows a lot on who he is as a player and the kind of, the desire he has to excel at his position. So, good situation all around, I think, with him.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Like you said, I think he was one of the biggest surprises, probably the biggest surprise from last year's draft class. A lot of Giants fans hated that pick when they made it. I remember it got bad reviews on Twitter. He was really physical. That's the one thing that really stood out to me, at least early on in the year. He was really physical. He had a good nose for the ball. Obviously, no interceptions, and we hope that we see more of that this year, not just from him, but from the entire secondary. But you would think with the improved secondary, with some of the acquisitions we brought in free agency, that will only help players like him and Deonte Banks, who we're all really excited about this year, and hope that he could take a big step up as well. But yeah, I'm excited about him. I think most Giant fans are very happy with last year's draft class, and he is one of the biggest reasons for that.
Yeah,
along with, of course, Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I could talk about for hours. But
yeah, we could do a whole show. We probably have a whole show on him. Absolute freak of nature. I love it. Love it. It's like OBJ without kicking nets and getting into random fights with corners.
The thing with Neighbors, man, and I know we want to talk about some other stuff, but the thing with Neighbors that has, because I knew anybody with like eyes knew how talented he was before he was even a Giant when he was at LSU. When you watch the pre-draft process, like he was arguably the most talented player in that draft. I mean, Marvin Harrison and him probably neck and neck outside of the quarterback position. But the thing that's really impressed me has been his off the field stuff. Everybody talked about going into the draft process that they were worried that his personality wouldn't gel well in New York. I think he's handled the media beautifully. Like, he's come across as himself. He's not like a robot, but I think he's come across respectable too. Like a pleasant surprise for me. I didn't know much about him from a media perspective, but you heard all the red flags about him coming in, and people were concerned with that. I've actually been that's been the biggest surprise for me with Malik Neighbors. I knew the talent was there, and I'm not saying I expect him to be a deterrent off the field, but I think he's been one of the best guys in terms of dealing with the media, which is really impressive for a player as young as he is.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Because I remember like seeing back, I think about this time a year ago, everyone was like giving him stuff because he was spotted in a New York strip club, just with a big wad of cash going out. And I was like, oh, great, this could go one of two ways. He's 20, like he's just doing what any 20-year-old does when he gets paid.
We've all been there.
I did it.
Yeah,
18, 21 were the big ones, but you know what? If you just signed to the NFL, I probably would have done the same thing at that age.
I'm calling BS on you, Rob.
No, I said I definitely did. It was 18, 21. I just didn't do that 20 because I didn't get signed by the NFL. There's a difference.
Yeah.
But
sure, I know better.
But but you can look at that from that side. Like, all right, so he goes to a strip club. He's got probably $1,000 worth of singles up there. He's either going to be a maniac off the field, or he's just doing what a 20-year-old does. And luckily, it was just someone that was 20 years old celebrating.
Yeah.
But you can take it and look at it like that's a guy that's going to go out and cause troubles. He's going to party. He could be the next the Browns quarterback, Manziel.
Oh, Johnny Manziel. Yeah.
I think he's just. I think he does need some fine tuning on some of the things he says at times, but I think he takes the leadership role about being the guy to go ahead and talk to the media. And you can take it as one of two ways of him, again, feeling like that's part of the leadership role, or you can take it as him wanting the spotlight. And I think it's probably a combination of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and to me, he comes across very authentic. Like, I loved Saquon. I don't love him now because he's an Eagle, but I love Saquon as a Giant. But at times, Saquon kind of felt like almost like a politician. Like, at time when he would talk with the media, with Neighbors, I get the feeling that he's himself. And he still comes across, in my opinion, at least, as a respectable guy and a guy that's a good teammate. So I've been very pleasantly surprised from that aspect. On the field, I knew what we were getting. I think he's the most talented receiver in the league. I mean, if not, he's top 2 or 3. The guy, last year he had 4 different quarterbacks. I think he's going to have 1,500 plus yards this year, easy, if he stays healthy. So I am so excited about Malik Neighbors, and he's looked terrific in camp. And I saw the video today. Again, some off the field stuff I'm impressed by. Jalen Hyatt, he's doing reps off the field with Jalen Hyatt, trying to help him get his breakaways, his break off the line of scrimmage. So you just love to see that a player that young acting as a mentor this early on in his career. So I'm a huge fan of Malik Neighbors. That's a slam dunk pick for the Giants.
Yeah, we talked about yesterday too how he literally stepped up to dart at the basketball game they had at Russell Wilson's house in San Diego just to kind of see what he had in him. Again, that's a leadership thing. He's trying to find out what he's got. Like, do I need to teach this kid how to be this, or does he got it naturally? Like I said, I think people are already reading him wrong though, and I think he's going to unfortunately deal with a lot of that in New York. So you're going to see already people, we'll give it a couple years and he'll demand a trade or he'll demand this or whatever. I don't think he's that guy. I think he'll demand money, but I also think he's going to deserve the money.
As long as you're getting him the ball, I think he'll be happy.
Yeah.
He'll want his money, of course, but as long as he's getting the ball, I think he'll be happy.
He's definitely writing the sequel to Keyshawn's book. That's for sure. As long as Wayne Corbett doesn't come around, we're good to go. So, the name I haven't had in years, Wayne Corbett.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the Goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
If you like that clip,
then you will love the full episodes too.
Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.